Welcome, everybody, to another rendition of the Cat and Zach Show. We're here a couple days after Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 7, and we're going to talk about all the deliciousness that we got in this episode and what it sets up for next week. But, Cat, first and foremost, how are you doing tonight?
I'm happy to be back. I was excited. I always get excited for Evil Ewok when we have an episode that I know that you probably approve of, Zach. It's always more
Or
exciting.
do I?
Oh,
No.
plot twist. Things might be getting spicy. We'll find out.
Yeah, let's take roll call. We got Grand Moff Tom, 821, Sal, Alice, the Stanleys, Colin, what's up, brother?
Okay, so
And
yeah.
X Gamma Wolf X XR Coon. I do like XR Coon. And what's up, Serena?
Serena.
Lord Zach is never late, nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to. What's
Heck
up,
yes.
Jerry?
Alice.
Got no work tomorrow, so I get to join the stream tonight. Hey,
Let's
way to
go.
go! It's always a win, Jerry.
Let's go.
I dig your little icon image as well. Love that shot of Ahsoka.
Oh, it's so good.
But let's dive on into the spies, which I'm not 100% sure why it's called the spies. I think they could have named it something better.
Really? So do we want to just jump right into the theorizing about that? Because that is one of the biggest, like the juiciest titles that inevitably I feel like implies, oh, there's a traitor in the group or something like that. Or somebody's framing or setting up the Mandalorians, somebody within their ranks. But they didn't address it. They kind of left it. There's a lot of speculation going on. So I'm curious, Zach, who you would... Because yes, the title definitely doesn't match what happened necessarily during the episode, other than they were ambushed or lured into a trap, or just it was a coincidence or whatnot. But if you had to choose, who are you leaning towards? Because I think it's anybody's game.
Axe Wolf, whatever his name is, Axe Wolves.
Axe Wolves.
I would say him, Axe Wolves. Yeah, just because he kind of obviously doesn't like Bo-Katan, or he was very reluctant to join her. It kind of took the Darksaber, her having the Darksaber, for him to be like, okay, fine. And then he's the only one who bails out of the battle. He's like, oh, I'll go alert them, cover me, and then he flies away. So that's the thing though, Kat. I don't feel like the episode sufficiently made me suspect anyone.
Right.
So calling it the spies is a bit of a misfire for me, because even if it turns out in the next episode there was a spy, I don't feel like we got any remote indication of that. We never had a line in this episode saying like, whoa, how did they know that we were going to be here? Like, how did they know that we were going to do this? And then that would get the gears turning in all your heads. Like, oh, maybe someone is informing upon them within their own ranks, but there was never that instance. So I would have named it something different regardless.
That's a very good point, because I'm like, are any of these people's actions questionable if we didn't go into it knowing the title is The Spies? Like, if it had been titled anything else, if I wasn't going into this with the preconceived, okay, somebody is not trustworthy, then Axe going to get reinforcements, I wouldn't have questioned it. Similar with the armorer, like out of goodwill, being like, hey, these people are too weak to travel. We got our whole fleet back up there. Let me just take a quick ride and drop them off to safety. Like, inherently, there's nothing sketchy, I feel like, about either of those things.
I just had a thought. Based off of Sal's comment here. I don't trust Axe. Armor is up in the air. Let's explore the armor for a second. She was the only survivor of the attack on Navarro at the end of season 1. She's the only one left. And she kind of maneuvered Bo-Katan into gathering all the Mandalorians up and taking them to Mandalore. She's like, we need to reclaim Mandalore. The time has come to reclaim Mandalore. I don't trust her on top of it. So I don't know. That would
Tom was just saying this exact... Tom is team armorer is the spy. He was saying that exact thing at dinner literally 10 minutes ago. He's probably in the other room with a grin on his face right now.
Think alike.
Yes. But no, that's true. My counter to him was, well, they made a point to show, oh, it's not suspicious that she's the only survivor, because at the time, because they then followed up and showed and justified, oh, she's
Oh, you're cut out. But she does kill a bunch of stormtroopers, right? Is that what you're gonna say?
Oh no, am I still muted?
I can hear you.
Oh, thank God. I can't. I have to just not touch my mic. The second I accidentally flinch my microphone, it's like, please stop. Yeah, like they backed it up and showed that she can kick some ass. So,
Yeah.
but that is a very good point. Tom's theory. This is his. I don't want to steal it as my own, but he was saying same lines. Perhaps she was, captured by the Empire after that, and then they replanted her to, finesse and rebuild their covert, because it was also just her and Paz initially in Book of Boba Fett, and then all of a sudden here we are now, and they had an entire new tribe, new covert of way more than just the two of them. So they've obviously
Right.
proven. So if she did get lured in, and somebody also made the good point on Twitter, like who was forging all the Beskar for the Empire, I mean, I guess she has an alibi because we've just seen her with the covert, but I don't know.
It like both makes sense and doesn't make sense at all, which I don't know. I think that the show has done things that have taken me by surprise simply because I don't think that's how you would do it typically with writing. Like the pivot from Din's gonna be the one with the dark saber to Bo just in an instant without really any build up. They've just had a track record of completely doing something and then completely undoing it out of the blue. So I can see points for her being the spy. I could see points for her not being the spy. I don't think it would surprise me either way. More than likely, she's just going to take the injured people back just so that we get a point of view of the space battle that's probably going to happen, so that we have a character up there that we can cut to and see that taking place.
True.
Is there anyone else you can think of that it could be?
My initial thought during the episode, my immediate fear was that it was the I keep wanting to call them pirates just because they were coasting around on that ship on the surface, but the survivors that they encountered, who were like, "Oh, we'll take you to the forge."
Right.
They were my first thought before anybody else within the ranks, especially if they've been on the planet this whole time, and clearly Gideon's literal Imperial base here was not built overnight. Like they've camped.
Years, yeah. Oh, you cut out again. It might be the cable. I don't. Maybe the cable.
It is 1,000% the cable. Every single time I accidentally touch it, it's like goodbye.
Just
So
put your hands over your head like this. It just
slowly, like. But yeah, they're my guess. But they were ambushed with the group. It showed all of them,
yeah.
well, fighting, and trying to escape with the rest of the group after Bo cut that escape hole in the doors. So I think my theory was squandered, because otherwise they would have fled or gotten themselves out somehow.
I mean, maybe they're just still undercover. I don't know. Like, maybe they're just leveraging the situation. Like, oh, Bo-Katan and all the Mandalorians are going to escape. We'll keep our cover and go with them. I could see it. I think that's the most plausible theory because we know the most little about them, and for all we know, they could be upset that Bo-Katan. They could blame her. They could be blaming her for what happened to Mandalore, and out of that, they ended up siding with them in some demented twist. So I could see that happening. I just think the drama isn't as juicy if it's just someone we met like an episode ago. But I do think that's the most plausible. I still wouldn't have named it the spies though, because until I saw that theory that there must be a spy in the Mandalorians' midst, I didn't even think about that. I was just puzzled. I was like, why is it called the spies? Like, we only saw Elia Kane in one scene at the beginning. It's not like she was a focal point.
Oh, frick, I totally forgot about her. Yeah, because it is plural as well, because everybody's, we're picking armor, axe, who, but it's like, there's obviously multiple. They named it that for a reason. I
What's
feel
up,
like
Nick?
Nag. But you make a good point. Like, is it supposed to be making a juxtaposition? Like, there are spies everywhere in the New Republic. Elia Kane is, that spy. Is there a spy, another spy we don't know of in the Mandalorian ranks? So I think you could actually be on to something. I don't know. I'm just. I hope. I do like, if you're right, it's much juicier and way more high stakes and emotionally impactful if it is somebody that we know and have gotten attached to. So I guess we will see.
Yeah, imagine if we've been blind and Bo-Katan is the spy and she helped Gideon bring Matt. That would break my heart if it was Bo-Katan. I don't think there's any way that there's no way, but I'd be mad. I'd be so upset.
I would throw something.
I was about to say I would throw something. I would be really angry.
I'm glad that didn't come off as an irrational reaction to that. I was
perfectly rational, because I would do it too. And I pride myself on being rational. There's no way logistically for the survivors to not know about Moff Gideon's base, so they were at least pressured by Gideon. I guess the only thing you could say, Serena, is if they had never gone there, but they knew, we know where the forge is, and we can take you there, but we've never been there ourselves. But that's why, again, I agree with you, Serena. That's why I would say probably them, in terms of being the most likely spies, because they've been there and it's a giant ass Imperial base. It's kind of hard not to notice that. You'd see ship traffic, I'm assuming,
Right. That's so true. All the ties got there. Like, that's a good point. Okay, so I'm not feeling like my theory was squandered necessarily. And you're right, Zach. They could be keeping up the element of surprise, the act, staying with the group, because obviously they all got away. But I'm sure Gideon knows they're all going to come back. Din is a hostage currently, so he knows they're not just going to peace out and leave entirely without him. So I'm sure there are other traps for them to be falling into along the way, since he's obviously had the upper hand and mapped things out here to set them up. So I didn't notice this, though. Serena commented they were eating at the feast that the baby dragon they were roasting. Yeah. Is that what they were roasting?
I think
I had no idea. That's sick. That's awful.
I want them to all die now, just for that. You're going to die for that, to quote Thor. One thing that I was talking about with my friend while watching the end of this episode, a little sadistic voice inside my head whispered to me, what if they kill Din right now? Like, could you imagine? And part of me is like, that would have been one of the most shocking moments in television history if they had killed Din Djarin off. And for a moment, I was like, if Gideon's smart, he would just kill Din. You don't want to leave the protagonist alive. It's a classic villain mistake. So ultimately they didn't. But did that cross your mind at all?
Oh, 1,000%. I thought that was what the music got all serious. Everybody else was helpless on the other side. This entire season, I don't think I would have had that thought if a lot of us didn't already have premonitions building up. Like, okay, Din's taking a little bit more of a back burner position this season. It seems like his arc really was centered around, Grogu seasons 1 and 2, and the rest has just been extra juice on top of it. But a lot of people have been theorizing, are they getting us, more acquainted with the idea of not having Din as much of a prominent character? So with all of that boiling around already within the fandom, and then that moment, and the music gets all dark and serious, I also was like, no way, they can't. But then I was like, maybe they could. It would alter the course of history. And based on what everybody was saying from Celebration, acting like this episode was life-altering, I, for a split second, was like, that's what got me, though. Because I was like, if Din died, there's no way they would have screened that at Celebration for such a risk of leaks.
Would have never been kept.
Yeah. So that was the only relief I felt. Like, there's no way.
I agree with you. I was waiting. I don't know if I'm ungrateful or if my expectations are too high, but I was waiting because we had heard, oh, this is, like you said, a life-altering episode. This is so good. This is incredible. I was waiting for something like that, something earth-shattering to happen, and it never did. And so when Din was on his knees and Gideon was standing there, I was like, oh, they're gonna kill him. Like, this is what they were talking about. But they didn't do that, and they did. It was Paz instead, which we can talk about. But I do want to kind of gauge the chat. Say they had killed Din off in that exact moment while everybody's watching from the other side. Grogu and Bo and Pat and everybody's watching, and they killed him. What would you guys? Would you be mad? Would you be? I mean, I'm assuming you'd be sad, obviously, but would that be something that you'd be irrevocably mad about? You could never forgive the show, or would it be like, oh my god, like the Red Wedding in Game of Thrones, for example? So sad, shocking, but we look back on it now and we're like, that was brilliant. Like, that was a brilliant moment of Game of Thrones.
You're right. Granted, it took me a while to come to that realization with the Red Wedding. I gave up on Game of Thrones after that episode, and I was like, "F this, F everything," and I had to stop watching for like a year. With Din, I was contemplating. I'm like, how am I going to react if and when this is going down? Because it's still not over, and a lot of people still are theorizing it could happen in the finale. But I agree with you, Zach. I appreciate when writers do something and make a decision that they know they will get flack for, or they know will piss off the audience, just as they did Last of Us Part 2. I'm not going to say or spoil anything, but for those of us who experienced it, we all had the initial, I think it comes and goes in phases. The waves are like, you're pissed off. You're like, what the F? Why would they do this? You're grieving. You're in pain. You're in agony and misery. And then you come around and you're like, you have respect for the boldness of the decision. So I don't think Disney Star Wars would do that, though. You know, like maybe on HBO they kill off everybody over there, but I don't know about Disney.
If this were Game of Thrones, Din would have 100% died. Because
he would have been.
Oh yeah, because what's his story right now? He doesn't really have one. He's not driving the story anymore. He's kind of just along for the ride. He's, like he said, I'm gonna serve you until your song's written, to Bo-Katan. So him being in a sense, I feel like a show like Game of Thrones would think, oh well, your character arc is now complete. You're dead. Like, we'll
the
kill you.
problem with Game of Thrones, though, is they get people in the peak of their arc,
That's
like
true.
right as you're least expecting it, and you're like, "This is my new favorite character. I'm rooting for them to go all the way." But especially, you're right. Especially if the character is pretty much burnt out and they're done, it's like there's nowhere left to go but the chopping board.
Serena says, I'd fucking cry, I'd scream, I wouldn't give the show for at least another year. I'd still watch, and if they did it right, I could eventually forgive Mr. Filoni, but begrudgingly, like forgiving Negan. Yeah, it did have serious, for those of you who've seen Walking Dead, the infamous Negan scene with the baseball bat, it had serious vibe. He was on his knees, everyone was watching helplessly. I don't know, Kat, if I were writing the show, I might have done it. Or I at least would have turned in a script to the executives, and then they would have probably told me, hell no, you're crazy. But I might have done it because it would have been one of the most, you would have stamped your place in history. And so, like, no one, this would be up there with biggest shocking moments in Star Wars history, like right next to Vader being Luke's father.
In all television history. I think you're right. In all of TV history.
Yeah, it would have been, and people would have drawn parallels to other Pedro Pascal characters dying prematurely.
Oh, God. Yeah, I think you're kind of like what you said about Grogu, though. He's so protected. What did you say? Grogu's like the safest character in all of Star Wars. Like, he's not going anywhere, I think, for the time being. Especially do we know wait. There were rumors that this third season of Mando is allegedly going to be the final one. At Celebration, I feel like that was swirling. I could be spreading misinformation right now. But we don't have confirmation necessarily that there is going to be another season after this. I think a lot of people would be very PO'd right now, like salty, if we do find out like after the fact that this is the last season. Like, I feel like that would have been better to know going into this.
Yeah.
If it's the case, again, I could be spreading lies right now. but we don't yet have confirmation. Like, what do we know about the future of the show other than it is culminating in a cinematic feature film experience? But I think it could still be in the works. It's like maybe if there isn't another season in the pipeline, and the story will prevail in other shows like Book of Boba Fett or whatnot, then maybe like it could be appropriate to kill off Din. But that is big. You'd have to do it right.
Yeah, the only things we know about season 4 is as Stanley says here, Favreau said that he's written season 4.
Oh, thank God. Okay, we do know.
They haven't like announced it, like, oh, season 4 will shoot at this time, but I would be shocked if we didn't get a season 4. Rick says season 4 scripts are done, just waiting for an announcement of shooting. Yeah, exactly.
Thank God.
They haven't said anything or showed anything at Celebration. Has infiltrators sound for episode 7 instead of the spies? I don't know. It's kind of the same thing. Like, they're not really infiltrating anything, and it's just as vague as the spies in my mind. A21. I would have called it. I don't even know what I would have called it. Like, you need to think about. I can't just come up with the title of an episode on the spot. Titles should take a lot of thought, and I just don't think the spies really covers it as well as it could have. Perhaps the Mandalorian title is referring to more than one this whole time. It's not about Din, but the Mandalorians. That's certainly. I mean, I think it's definitely a fair point. Everybody who's been championing the Bo-Katan kind of turn on the show as her as the focal point has been bringing this up. Like, well, it's called the Mandalorian. It could be about anybody who's a Mandalorian. So I think that's fair. Solar Prime Studios. End of the world as we know it if Mando doesn't have another season.
Alice, for real.
Who do you think has a death flag next episode? We're gonna talk about predictions towards the end of the stream, but we will cover this. We will cover this.
Do we want to segue to some of the other topics we didn't discuss? Speaking of Celebration, I will not be spreading misinformation, but there were some exciting things that we didn't cover.
Let's talk Tales of the Jedi Season 2, which there was so much to talk about. We didn't get to this on the pre-game stream for Mandalorian, but this is confirmed to be happening. My hope is that we get more than 6 episodes. I hope for like 20. I doubt it's going to happen. But what Jedi would you like to see this cover? Or what time periods would you like to see this cover?
Oh, I didn't even think about transcending the Clone Wars time period and doing exploring others. My biggest one, if this is Dave Filoni writing, I think the one that I'd be most curious that could be especially applicable and tie in with Ahsoka if we see this character, I think Barriss Offee could be great, because I think we do get a good bit of her in the Clone Wars, but like we had there was a whole trio for Ahsoka in the first part of Tales of the Jedi, so I don't think it has to necessarily focus, I guess he's writing about whoever he wants, so whether they're a main character or not, but as much as we did get a little bit of her, I think a quarrel that a lot of people have is she becomes very radicalized, but we don't necessarily see what spawned that necessarily. I could be wrong. It's been a hot minute since I have watched that whole entire arc. But I think it could be interesting just to see other like moments of where it sparks for her, like, oh, I want to turn on the Jedi Order. And she does very terrorist-esque things, very extreme forms of protest. So it's kind of like, how do you go from being a Padawan to turning this violent? I think it could be interesting. That's the only one, though. I mean, there'd be plenty of others I'd want to see, but she's one I feel like could be a big possibility.
I think that's a great choice. It is a bit sudden when it's revealed that she's now a terrorist and she is protesting she doesn't like the way the Jedi are going. And I do think more context would definitely make that even better. Along that vein, I think this one would be very controversial, but Krell.
I knew you were going to
Krell. I think showing Krell's descent into madness would be really interesting. and for the same in the same sense that Barris, because obviously there's a story there. Like, why does he reach this conclusion? So that'd be interesting. Obviously, as someone said it, like Filoni's favorite is Colin. Filoni's favorite is Plo
Right.
Koon. Easily could see this happening. I also like the idea of young Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, juxtaposed with we see young Qui-Gon and Dooku, so that
Yeah,
would actually be really interesting.
yeah,
I hope there's more than just two Jedi. I feel like the first rendition, especially hearing Dave like speak about it at Celebration, it very much sounds like it started off as like a shot in the dark, like let's just put these little fables, as he called them. Let's put these little short stories out there and just test the waters. And it was literally like the top rated, I think, Star Wars Disney Plus release like all of last year, right? Like it was the most unanimously praised, I think. So
it
well
was
received.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I really hope that they saw that and were like, oh, let's expand and have more arcs. Focus on maybe 4 Jedi instead of 2. I really hope it's more than just 6 episodes this next time around, because the 6
wasn't
it was
enough.
so you're right. It was so long
Yeah.
awaited, and then you binge it in like 1 hour, and it's over, and you're like, "That's it. That was it." It's so
I've watched the Dooku episodes probably like 3 or 4 times. Like, they're so good. They're so
they're
well
so,
done. And I can't
so
help but think if they had more episodes, it would have been even better. Because it was great for what it was, but it was a little rushed at times. Like, particularly the episode with him and Windu, I felt was really brisk. Probably my least favorite of the 3, but the other 2 were really really well done. And if they had more episodes, I think that would have been a even harder hitting story. And yeah, just add more episodes. I would love it if they did like 20 episodes and then they covered like 4 or 5 different Jedi. That would be really sick.
that would be.
It would suck.
Yeah. Oh, I hope. I hope so. Guess we'll find out.
Sal wants to see Quinlan Voss. Yeah, that'd be a good one. Asajj Ventress, Sifo Dyas, Kelleran Beck, Plo Koon, Kit Fisto, and Rael Everast. I would always be down to see Kit Fisto.
Ooh.
He's my favorite background prequels Jedi. Love Kit Fisto. Sifo Dyas, I think, is much needed content as well. I remember when I was a kid, I thought Sifo Dyas was Qui-Gon Jinn for some reason, because there's a line where the Kaminoan is like, "Oh, where's is Master Sifo Dyas still in the Jedi Order?" And then Obi-Wan says, "Oh, he was killed 10 years ago." And I was like, "Well, Phantom Menace was 10 years ago, so I guess Sifo Dyas must be another name for Qui-Gon." And
Ooh.
I always thought that they were the same person until I got older. But I think some more context to him would be cool, because he's just a name right now. He's not really a character. Kelleran
Right.
Beck would be fun.
I think some Sith characters too, although I lied. Duh, it's Tales of the Jedi. But yeah, it could be. I mean, I think Dooku's was a very popular arc in the last round because it showed his descent, and there are certainly
Yeah.
other characters who at least relinquished the Jedi Order or have fallen to the dark side. Ventress would be like a very cool one if we see her story like pre everything that we see from her in the Clone Wars. That could be really cool.
Yeah, and if they were to animate Dark Disciple, which is the book that's kind of her conclusion, fantastic, probably my favorite canon novel. It's so good. That'd be great. We'd see a lot of Quinlan Voss. We'd see more Dooku. We'd see more Ventress. We'd see Anakin, Obi-Wan. But it's a phenomenal book. But that'd be cool. Asajj Ventress is a character that is badly in need of closure for people who haven't read the books. Because if you haven't read the book, you're just sitting there like, what the hell happened to Asajj Ventress? Like, she didn't get her day in the sun like Ahsoka did and Rex did at the end of the Clone Wars. Like, her arc was not concluded. So I think it'd be cool if they finished it in animation.
Right. That's very cool. I think another one now, maybe I would hope that they would branch out and maybe do some other characters from the Clone Wars that were more like Kit Fisto. Freaking, I'll watch 50 episodes of that man. Like, heck yes. But I think it could also be cool to show known survivors, like we see like pick up where we left off in Bad Batch season 1 premiere with young Caleb
Yeah,
Doom,
that'd be
like
fun.
to show a 3 episode arc of like how he survived afterward. Like that could be very interesting. And I know that a lot of people are anti, like, too many Jedi are now surviving, like, Order 66, but he's at least a pre-established one that we know of as a survivor. So I think that could be cool, especially since they introduced him in animation in Bad Batch. So I think that could be fun.
They have the model. Think we could get Plagueis. I think if we get Plagueis, it's got to be in the Acolyte, and they're going to have to address Plagueis in the Acolyte because I believe the time period should line up. It should. If they stick to like Plagueis' lifespan in Legends, they could not, and then just completely pass over him. But I'm really jonesing to see Plagueis because again, he's a name. We haven't seen him. He's just like Sifo Dyas, except obviously more popular because of the whole monologue. But again, he's a Sith. I think they're gonna stick to Jedi in this because of the name. Tales of the Bounty Hunters. That'd be cool. Tales of the Sith. Tales of the Sith would also be cool. Oh yeah, Shakti. Shakti would be cool.
So confirm her death. She has 3 deaths. Speaking of closure, how does she really go out?
Love seeing a Mandalorian version like Tales of Mandalorian. Oh, you know what they should do? They should do Tar Vizsla, the guy who made the Darksaber.
Oh,
that'd be a great way to tie the Mandoverse together with the Jedi Order. That'd be a good idea. They should call me, Lucasfilm. Call me.
Yo, for real. And Clan Vizsla is certainly getting, lots of attention this season, and it would totally just kind of bolster the interactions that we've seen so far. Like, I love when Star Wars makes past Star Wars. I love when new Star Wars enriches past Star Wars, because that would be great to give some backstory to what we hear about the genealogy for, like in Mando and whatnot. But I think that could actually be really, really great.
Sal, I think you sent this before I took credit for the idea. I swear it was independent. We both reached the same conclusion. I promise you. But yes, Tar Vizsla would be incredible. Adigalia, that'd be cool. Yeah. Plagueis would be an apprentice during Acolyte.
Oh, what's the name? Do Coleman Trevor.
Yes, Coleman Trevor. Yes, I love that man.
Oh my god,
I love Coleman Trevor. Shakti, the Uncle Ben of Star Wars. Yeah.
For real.
I always wanted Keanu Reeves to play Tar Vizsla. Everyone wants him to play Revan. I see that cast all the time. Really need Keanu in Star Wars. A million times, yes. Tar Vizsla now. I mean, it just makes too much sense for them to do that.
It's too good.
Yeah, like it just ties everything together. They have to do this. Mother Talzin.
Ooh, Stanley's.
Yeah, I'd like to see more Mother Talzin. Ima Gundy. I really like Ima Gundy. I was just watching the scene where he dies earlier today because it's such a cool last stand on Ryloth. I love that scene. But yeah, the Maul comics. Yeah, the Son of Dathomir. Great little line there. Maul. More Maul is always going to be appreciated.
I will never say no.
The Acolyte trailer just looks so great. So hyped for that. I did watch it. Again on the maybe I did, maybe I didn't on a certain Discord, but I did watch it. It looks really well done. Really excited for it.
Yeah, that might be. Dare I say? Don't get me wrong. I'm stoked for Ahsoka, and it's gonna be amazing. But I think ever since they announced Acolyte, that has been the most shiny one on my radar. Like, in terms of what I'm just ready. I'm just so effing ready to break out of this time period. Don't get me wrong. I love Ahsoka. I love the Miniverse. I love everything that's happening right now, and I'll take whatever I can get when it comes to Star Wars. But it's like about darn time. The Acolyte is going to be our first freaking taste of like fresh, new. I just need something. Just give me something different. I think just the newness and the mystery surrounding it, and the fact that is uncharted waters for that time period. Like, just give it to me. I need it. I just need something. Refreshing the Star Wars palette.
100%. And I think that it would help break the comparisons, like the people have been making, like, oh, Star Wars is just like Marvel. You have to watch a million things to understand the story. And if you go ahead and you do something like Acolyte, where it's 150 years before any of this, anyone can just jump into it. You don't need to really know anything as long as you have an idea of who the Jedi are and who the Sith are. I'm sure that you have all that you need going into that. You don't need to have watched The Mandalorian. You don't need to have watched Boba Fett, Ahsoka. None of that matters because you're 150 years, 100 years in the past, and that's something Marvel can't do really. You're never going to really have a
Ooh.
Marvel movie that's like, oh, this took place 200 years ago, and it's completely removed from everything else.
Right. You're onto something, Zach. That's actually so true. Yeah, Star Wars has the flexibility. Freaking, you can go 2,000, 20,000 years into the future or past, either direction, and have new stories, and it's still in the Star Wars universe. Like, it's about time we started branching out into the flexibility of the timeline, and just like that's why I mean I know we touched on it, but the Dawn of the Jedi film that's coming out, that is actually going to be like 25,000 years in the
Yeah.
past. Like, send it, do it, please. Can't wait. Inject it into my bloodstream. I need it.
I was doing research for my short that I put out today about like, well, let's look at the first Jedi in canon and in Legends. What do we know about them? And it is 25,000 years in the past. And just thinking about that amount of time is insane. 25,000 years ago, humanity in real life, we were living in caves and shit. Like we didn't really have a society at all. But in the Star Wars universe, I'm assuming 25,000 years ago, they're still going to have ships and stuff. Like it's just crazy how long Star Wars has gone back in terms of like history, how far back things are. It's insane, and it's really exciting because 25,000 years, you can do literally whatever the hell you want. You don't have to tie to anything in the future. You don't have to worry about that at all. So that's going to be
Yeah.
refreshing.
The creative freedom, like if I were ever gonna write like a Star Wars fan fiction or something, I would do myself the favor and set it like thousands of years, like in the past or future, because literal fresh slate. You can do whatever you want, introduce whatever technology or whatever you want. Like, I just can't. There were probably maybe planets that like didn't even
Yeah.
planets that died out or like don't even exist in current Star Wars as we
Yeah.
know it. Like,
Species that aren't there anymore in the modern time. Like your
right.
freedom is limitless.
For real.
And just relationships between worlds, like, oh well, obviously Coruscant isn't gonna be a thing. Or maybe if it is, it's a wild planet, and it's not all, industrialized as it is in the, like, there's so many different possibilities. Things are gonna look so different. And I'm really curious if they're gonna have a lightsaber, if he's gonna make or he or she is gonna make a lightsaber, and what is that gonna look like? What's the initial lightsaber gonna look like? Because in Legends, they had, it's kind of like the lightsabers that we have currently made in real life. I'm not sure if you've seen the videos on YouTube where it's like, it's got like, you have to wear this power pack on your waist and it's like this cord that connects to the hilt. That's
Mm-hmm.
kind of what it was in the comics early on when they first created them. They were like these power pack things with a like a wire. And I wonder if they're going to do that, or if it's just going to be more of the mindset of, no, this is what the lightsaber always was like, because it's an ancient weapon from a more civilized time. And it's just
Ooh.
like the Jedi. I feel like that might be what they go with, because the Jedi are all about tradition, and I could see them not really innovating
Right.
their weapon.
True. That's a very good point. Yeah, it doesn't seem like they had a lot of the same amount of customization capabilities as we have when we play Jedi Fallen Order to tweak our sabers. So that that's a good. That would be so cool to see. It actually would be so interesting now that they've established what the actual planetary surface of Coruscant looks like in Mando. That literal just chunk of one, the last stand, the
Right.
last remaining rock. That now that we know that's what the planet looks like, that could be so sick to see. Like, what does Coruscant look like 25 years in the past when there aren't the buildings and skyscrapers? Like when the whole planet is actually just that like granite looking rock. Like now that we've seen it, like send it, just do it, just do something,
They could
different.
literally be on a planet and they don't even say the name for a while, and then at some point they're like, oh yeah, this is a Coruscant, and then you're just like, holy shit, like that was Coruscant.
That would be so cool. Oh my god,
Yeah,
you're right.
just like in a line of dialogue. Like, they don't even have to make a stupid fan servicey moment out of it where it's like the music picks up and it's like, oh, Coruscant. It's just like, oh yeah, that was Coruscant. Like, and then you just move on. Like, just you throw it in a line of dialogue and you move on. Like, that'd be,
Right?
us Star Wars fans would be like, oh my god. You know, it's
For real.
I just can't get back to, I can't get out. I don't even know. Like, I don't even know what to say. Like, there's just so many possibilities that they can do.
I know.
And I'm so excited for that.
Yeah.
That wasn't on the docket, but who cares? Because
You know
I think
what?
we're both just extremely excited for that because it's everything
Yeah.
that we've been asking for.
Right. I'm so glad we're like in the same boat about that. Like, just break free
Yeah.
when you're ready.
You keep
Break
holding
free.
on.
Let the press die.
Kill it if you have to. Let's talk about some Vision season 2. Stylistically, I feel like the first season was much more in lockstep. Like, okay, it's anime. This second season looks like it's a lot of different animation styles. Is that something you're more into, or would you have rather it been more uniform in one style ish? Because I know that the art style differed from episode to episode in Vision season 1, even though I haven't seen it. But this is radically different.
Yeah. No, I was gonna ask you, like, just the wider breadth of artistic styles and animation, you know, aesthetics inspire you more to check it out? Because I know you're not the biggest anime fan. I loved, don't get me wrong, literally loved all of the anime, everything from season 1, but it definitely was under an umbrella.
Mhm.
So to see other studios, just to see what other people do, free reign, seeing Star Wars through a new, that's what I loved so much about seeing the anime like rendition. Like, it was seeing Star Wars through an entirely new lens, a new perspective, and it was beautiful and it was freaking amazing and just refreshing, and it was something new. So to see that with, I think there's 9 episodes, 9 different studios under totally different umbrellas, all doing their own
All
thing,
across the
like,
world. Yeah.
yeah, like I'm excited about that. I'm also just excited that they now have a global, like, people from across the planet creating Star Wars stories. Like, there's like Brazil, Mexico. Like, I know
Yeah.
we were reading off the list of some of these other studios where they're based. So, like, what does a Brazilian Star Wars story look like? Like, when you just put Star Wars in other people's hands, like, Vision season 1 proved there's amazing stories. So that's what I'm most excited about. I think not just the art styles are going to be extremely different, but I think the stories will be like drastically, hopefully there will be quite the variety of stories as well.
Yeah, and I think that in putting these stories in the hands of different people from all across the world, what you're going to get is, I think, a wider breadth of just genuine feeling Star Wars in terms of, people do this a lot in fiction where you base, okay, these fictional fantastical this group of people, they're based loosely off of like ancient Japan or ancient China, and that this is their society. You're like, and if you're not from that area, sure, you can emulate it a bit, but you're not going to truly know all the ins and outs of the culture unless you're from that area. So I think that having a Brazilian told Star Wars story, you're going to have these little intricacies that nobody would have picked up on but them, and they're going to be able to infuse that into Star Wars, and it's going to make Star Wars feel wider and bigger. And I think that's awesome. And I will be watching season 2, Kat. I will.
Are you even going to watch season 1, or you're just going to bypass that?
Maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh my goodness.
Stanley's hashtag Zach's a fake fan. Yeah.
No, I get on Zach a lot about that, but I'm sure there's a lot of people who haven't watched Visions because there's so many people in this fandom who are like, oh, it's not canon, then I don't need to watch it. Like, so I can't blame you. I know that's not the reason why you haven't watched it, but I'm happy to hear that you will actually be watching the second season.
Yes, I will. But yeah, let's move on to back to wrap this up into a bow. Back to Mandalorian. You were saying something about Brendan Wayne. Wow, I spelt it wrong. Even
I just noticed too.
There's no N.
We've both been sitting up here this whole time, and we both just noticed at the exact same time.
There we go. The docket is correct.
Oh wow, that was quick. Yes, I can read off for those of you who are active on Twitter or on social media. I'm sure you have seen this. Brendan Wayne, the body, the stunt double. For those who don't know, there are several actors who portray Mando, but Brendan Wayne is one of them, and he put on his Instagram story that the next episode is going to make you wish you hadn't asked for more. ... It might just hurt too much. And Star Wars Twitter is having a field day over what this could imply, which it's a bold thing to say.
Yeah.
And I take people's predictions like for I give a lot of merit. Like that's why when everybody was saying from Celebration, like, oh, this episode is gonna like be life altering, I believe you. And I went into this episode like we were both so giddy. We were both so excited going into it based on just like word of mouth, what we had heard. So when somebody says that, like it's gonna hurt, I immediately just brace for the worst. I'm like, well, shiz. Like that is a bold statement. That's not just throwing it out there to generate hype. Like I feel like that's bold. So speaking of Din dying,
You think they do it? I don't know. I feel like him not dying this episode bodes better for him not dying in the next episode. Because if you were gonna do it, why not do it there? Because he absolutely could have done it there. And
right. And they already had. I mean, I was a little bit shocked to hear that because I assumed Paz. I mean, not only did they kill him off, but they sent him out. They gave him a finale. Like it was beautiful and heartbreaking and devastating and freaking epic as heck. I don't know how you felt about the Praetorian Guard, Zach, when they came out, but I had chills. Like I was literally like screaming, crying, throwing up. So they like really focused on that. So I came off that thinking that's going to be the biggest gut punch this season, and then everything else is going to wrap it up and put a nice little bow on it and dry our tears because that's how Disney Star Wars operates. I feel like maybe I need to just get that out of my head because we have seen some dark things from Disney Star Wars. I mean, obviously Rogue One, they weren't afraid to kill off literally everybody. So it's doable. I guess I always forget that they've done it in the past, but
Zach, I think someone has to die. By the sound of it, because I don't think anything else would make it hurt too much to use his word, unless he's being dramatic,
right?
Which is always a possibility with you acting types. But,
give me some ice. Give me some ice. That was actually very good, bravo.
But yeah, thank you. But I do think that barring that possibility, someone's going to die, and the only people that would really personally that would hurt me if they died would be Din, Bo-Katan, and then obviously Grogu. But like I said earlier, there's no way in hell they're killing Grogu, so I don't think that's even a possibility. So between those two, Kat, if you had to choose one.
Sophie's choice. No.
Yes, if you had to choose one, who would it be?
Oh God.
Not like you personally kill them, but like which one do you think's more likely to die?
Oh, okay, likely.
Yes.
Oh, frick. Well, I think the argument could go both ways because there I was, 30 minutes ago saying it would make sense if they killed off Din because he has taken a back seat. I don't even like to say that. But he certainly the season has focused on other people. Spotlight has shifted, and it's not just about Din Djarin anymore. It has expanded to other Mandalorians. So he has taken a more laissez-faire role. He hasn't been as front and center. So that one could argue they've been softening us up and getting us ready for that. But here we were, just a few weeks ago saying we think Tech is going to die because they totally built him up this season, gave him like the most screen time.
Right.
Transfer that. Like, I think the Tech of this season is certainly Bo-Katan. And I think we're all a bit surprised by the role she has taken this season. Even Katie Sackhoff herself said, like, everybody's a bit, I'm happy about it. But she's had a much larger role than I think any of us anticipated. And everybody's out here saying, it's the Bo-Katan show now, which I don't think is a bad thing. but that's another topic. So it's like, the last time we were theorizing about are they going to kill this character because they've been building him up the entire season, they killed him off because they got it. Like you said, The Walking Dead did that a lot, right? Like they would get you attached and then steal the person away. But I feel like that's too malicious for Star Wars. I don't know.
The only thing I would say in opposition to that is I feel like with Tech, they definitely focused on him more, as we said. But he was never like they've made Bo-Katan the main character of the season, pretty much. Tech was never the main character, so that would give me a little pause in saying she's gonna die, because it would feel really weird if they were like, okay, we're not gonna really develop Din at all, and we're just gonna have all the development be on Bo, and then we're just gonna kill her. It'd feel a little weird.
That is a good
point,
right? Oh, frick, but I could see it. Or whoever. I'm gonna say again because I felt the same way going into the Bad Batch finale. I was like, why does everybody think death is in the air? And then there I was, eating my own words when Tech died, because I really didn't think they were gonna do that. So it could be the same thing next week, but I don't think they have the audacity to kill either of them. I don't know. I wouldn't want either of them to go. I think this might be a hot topic. I think right now, oh, frick. I was going to say Bo-Katan's would hurt more, but I mean, the reason I was so shaken up, literally sobbing over Paz, was because they established, his foundling child, and that's heartbreaking knowing he left someone behind. So I would be even more shook, Grogu losing Din, would have major repercussions versus Bo. I could see her having a major sacrifice for her people, and it would be a great arc for her. As much as I wouldn't want to see it, it would really cap off the season that has focused and started with her in her lowest, and now redeeming herself and getting the Darksaber back and going back to Mandalore and helping to reestablish her people. So it would be very meaningful. I don't know.
I think this is what I would do if I were writing. I would kill off Din, and I think what that does for Mandalore as a whole is very meaningful, because I think Bo really respects him, and he in a way has got her to regain her faith in Mandalore, and I think she views him as the ideal Mandalorian. He's loyal. He doesn't start fights senselessly. If every Mandalorian was like Din, they'd never have these problems that Bo was saying they've always had, like how they always infight, and that's what tears them apart. I think that if Din were to die, say sacrifices himself or something, it's gonna be tragic as F. It'll be one of the most tragic moments in all of Star Wars, and nobody will ever forget it. And B, I think he becomes a martyr, and Bo-Katan uses him as a symbol going forward for Mandalore, and maybe he becomes a symbol or something, and his legend lives on in that sense. You know what I mean? That's what I would do, because it does feel like his story is just about done, and just all the tragedy and how meaningful it would be going forward. I think it would be really well done, although very painful.
You know what? You have a really good point, though, because I think his death would also give a lot more meaning to Grogu coming back and choosing to pursue the Mandalorian path, walking the way, pursuing that becoming his new goal in life, versus, pursuing the Jedi way, because at first it would feel like, well, this stinks, but it would totally it would fuel his passion for that, to want to follow Din's footsteps and become a Mandalorian like his, adoptive father. Like, it would be great fuel for his case, and kind of justify the tragic reason why they reunited the two of them in Book of Boba Fett. Frick. I just don't know. Here I am. I believe you, Zach. Like, everything you're saying, I think this is 1,000% possible, but there's part of me that's just like, they'll never
They don't
They're
have
not
the
gonna do
balls. They don't have the balls.
it.
If
You
he,
can't handle the
yeah,
truth.
if he did die though, you would be how a mess would you be?
I
Because
would
I might cry. Like I'm just picturing a moment, like a final moment between him and Grogu. That would be tragic. I would. Oh,
stop.
that would be so
Goodbye.
painful.
I'm already waving goodbye because I cease to exist, even just at the thought of that. Frick. I mean, I literally was like shaking, crying, uncontrollable sobbing. I mean, for those who watched my reaction, I had to edit out like straight up 10 minutes of me just sitting in my chair crying after the episode. And I was like, why the frick was I so sad about Paz? But freaking, if I lost my cool like over Paz's sacrifice, if they were to kill Din Djarin, like, I wonder if I would even have that initial moment of being pissed off because so many of us have been bracing for it maybe this season or like
Yeah.
tossing it around like it has been in the air. Or what was the deal here? It could be happening. So I think I would just bypass the initial irate period and just go immediately to like throwing up, sobbing,
You might
crying.
die. Like honestly, you might die.
At least I'll capture it on camera. I'm gonna tell Tom right now. Post it anyway. Get all those clicks. Dies in reaction, not
clickbait. Send it right to Howard Stern.
He would roast my ghost into oblivion. Oh my god.
Oh, that's so funny.
God. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll have to find out.
I'd be sad that you died, but I'd be laughing so hard if they showed it on his show.
I honestly, I would root for it. It's one way to go out. My whole family, like, they don't tease me about it, but they're always like, they all bring it up, like, oh no, watch out for Howard Stern. Like, he's always looming.
He just had a quote. It wasn't about anything like as trivial as Star Wars. I think it was about like people being gay. And he said, like, I don't care what you are, like, you have the freedom to do that. Like, I don't care at all. And I was just like, really? You don't care at all? If someone were to say, post a reaction on the internet and being very emotional about a fictional property, you wouldn't make fun of that, Howard Stern. Like, I got very triggered on your behalf.
Oh, thank you, Zach. Yeah. You know what?
Friggin' hypocrite.
It was my... At least I was worthy enough for him to be talking about for a whole segment. Yeah. So you know what? That put me in a new tier. Who knows? At least in my family's eyes. Like, luckily my family thinks I'm cool after that. I'm like, did you all not listen? I mean, he roasted me pretty good. He toasted and roasted me, but I'll take it if my family thinks that makes me cool. But yeah, that would certainly be Howard Stern fuel. They're not gonna do it though. Do we place a bet, Zach?
I think we place a bet. Yeah,
me and Alex
have
been betting this whole season. Now I'm like, I think we have to.
I'll say they do it.
They're not. I'm pretty. You know what? Like I said, I believe you. I think there's so much merit to everything you're saying. And I would respect it, but I just don't think they have it. I don't think they have it in them. I don't. So I'm going to say they will not. Din walks out alive. Or I have been saying, I feel like this season, because a lot of the conflict has been boiling down here to literally the last few episodes. So this whole, time I've been thinking, I really think this could end off on a cliffhanger. Perhaps Din dies in suspicious ways, but it's another situation where no body, not official.
I would hate that.
I could see a cliffhanger and him coming back in the next season or something like that. I don't think they would end him for good. I just don't know. I don't know.
It would be very, very ballsy. It would, and again, I would respect it for that because it would be so, it would be so emotional and it would really make its mark on Star Wars. And I like logically, I don't think they're gonna do it as well. I think they don't have the balls to do it. But the writer in me wants to believe that they do it because I think it's the right choice, as hard as it would be.
Do you want to do a poll? I know we can't do it as
I
easily
have
on
it. It's
Opus.
going right now. It's
Okay,
it's
sweet.
vote everybody. There's 15 of you in here. Cast your votes. So far, it's 36% say yes and 64% say no.
All right, phew. I'm glad I'm not thinking
If they were gonna kill him,
irrationally.
it would be in the movie. I mean, maybe, but not
Oh,
necessarily.
I forgot about that Mando Legion. You're right. I keep forgetting the movie's happening. Ooh.
It's funny how people can cry watching sports and their teams win or lose, but when someone cries watching a film or TV, it's blasphemous, embarrassing. I know it's basically the same thing.
Amen, Sal. It is very true.
15 and only 8 likes. Like, yeah, everybody, we're gonna do our YouTuberly duties right now. Like this stream, please. It helps us out very much. It gets the stream spread amongst the interweb. So please like it if you feel we deserve it. I put yes because if I don't, then I won't be able to handle the shock. Are you trying to like jinx it into?
Serena's emotionally preparing.
If Din dies, you probably won't hear the end of it from me.
Alice.
Well, more
Charlie isn't here. Sorry.
He isn't. He messaged me. He said he was taking his nephew to go see John Wick. So a perfectly reasonable excuse to miss
What
class.
an amazing uncle. Oh my god. You know what? Did you say perfectly good excuse to miss class?
Yes, this is class. Yeah, Charlie's not here, unfortunately. But I have no doubt he'll watch later. He always does.
He's loyal. He's the best. He's the bestest.
Night out on the town seeing John Wick. Awesome, Charlie. Yeah, everybody give Charlie some love. Drop some heart emojis.
Yes.
Don't forget about Sasha Banks' characters definitely giving her some screen time for a reason. Has she said anything? Does she I think she had a couple lines in this recent episode.
I think she literally just said, "I will go" when Bo was rallying everybody to go to Man. Oh yes, she said, "I will go," and then when Paz was like, "You lived here," and she was like, "We all did." She had just a few. She's definitely had way less than she had during her whole tussle with
Boba Fett.
Right. I'll be honest though, not that I don't like her, but like I wouldn't. I mean, maybe. Literally, I didn't think I was going to cry over Paz, but the way they sent him out made me emotional as frick. So if it's done right, I guess I'll cry over freaking anybody in Star Wars. I mean, I cried over like Tala in Kenobi. Like if it's meaningful, the meaningful sacrifices get me to my core, and that happens. Flow. Yeah. So
I will personally go to Dave Filoni and tell him he ruined the next decade of my life. What a name. What a name. Continental teaser looked awesome. I need to watch it. I've not seen it yet.
Should I react to it? Maybe I will.
Do it. John Wick's pretty popular.
Yeah.
I don't care for Costco or Axe because they don't get screen time. I like Sasha Banks a lot, but her character has nothing. That is true. They have not developed them at all. Thoughts on if they destroy the Darksaber? Yeah, sorry, you've been posting this a few times. I could see it. Maybe not necessarily this episode, but I could see them basically destroying it and using it as a symbol of, well, this has been a symbol of Mandalore for all this time, and yet we've never been able to unite under it. And it's maybe I could see, I don't know, I could see Bo taking lessons from Satine, like maybe not going full on pacifism, but adopting some of her policies and maybe destroying the Darksaber, which is literally a weapon and a symbolic, weapon of war, would be a good way towards unifying Mandalore in a sense. I don't know. I could see that happening.
I agree, because so much of like the reason they have their disagreements with like the Children of the Watch is because they abide so strictly and are very loyal to a specific creed that deems like this is the way. Don't take your helmet off, and that's their role. For like, who's to say it's not as extreme to tell everybody you have to bow down to me because I have the dark saber? Like everybody has their own. And even Din said, like, we don't even give a crap about the dark saber. They have their own like other things that they respect, and other signs of honor and whatnot. So I guess one could equally look at, Bo-Katan's tribe and say, you guys are equally dedicated to an outdated, creed that says whoever holds that sword leads Mandalore. But like, how much weight does it actually hold, So that actually could be cool if they did destroy it intentionally, because Gideon wants it so badly, and he's obviously the biggest effing fanboy this episode confirmed. Like, he's such a wannabe, and he's actively seeking it again. So that could be, oh frick, sorry, there's a huge bug climbing on my wall right now. Sorry, I'm gonna pretend I didn't see that. He obviously really wants the darksaber, so I could see them being like, all right, F him, F this, and just destroying it anyway, to prevent him from getting it. Sorry.
He's such a weeb. He's such a weeb. He's like, oh, I'm gonna outfit my soldiers to look like Mandalorians. I'm gonna cosplay as a Mandalorian.
Cosplay for real. He's like, the best part of the suit is the fact that I'm gonna be in it. It's like, oh my god, that's why I want to know, like, what happened? Who hurt you, Gideon? Like, did you want to become an adoptive foundling when you were young and they rejected
He's
you? Or
like
something?
Syndrome from Incredibles.
Oh my god!
When everyone's a Mandalorian, no one is.
You're so right. Oh my god.
That's it, everyone. Gideon is Syndrome.
Oh my god. That's fabulous.
It's gonna like cut to a flashback of him being like, Mr. Jango Fett, can I go on an adventure with you? And Jango's gonna be like, piss off, kid. And then that's gonna start him on his descent into what he becomes.
Oh my god. That's it. We did it, everybody. We cracked the code. If we don't see Syndrome-esque flashbacks in the finale.
They got busy. I love Syndrome.
That movie, literally one of the best films of all time.
Yeah.
So good.
Fly home, buddy. I work alone.
Yes.
The stream is officially up. It was never on the rails, Andrew.
Cat and Zach show gets exciting.
I think Gideon respects the strength of the Mandalorians. He saw them as the answer to the weakness of the Empire. I think you might be onto something there. I think he knows they just could never be controlled, so he has to kill them anyways.
Yeah, that's true. Sorry, I'm just scouring my walls to try to keep track of the giant. It's gone now. Never mind. It's just
None of you are
somewhere.
talking about how Gideon's armor looks like Maul DeLoreans, or how he got. Oh. It has the little horns and the like the side, the corners. It's not a full on like Super Commando Maul armor, but it looks the horns look a little similar. Somebody
on Twitter, to make a point in favor of maybe the armor being the traitor, pointed out that she is the only other one who we know of that has the little mini horns on her helmet too. But it could be just a healthy coincidence. It's a stylish touch. I'm not gonna lie. He was straight up drip. Like, he looked freaking sweet.
Yeah, not gonna lie. It looks badass. I think he looks more badass without the mustache too. I thought he looked cooler without the mustache in this episode.
Interesting, because they dropped his character poster and he still has it in the poster. He has the stash, so yeah, maybe he'll have it. Maybe it'll grow rapidly and he'll have it again in the finale. Who knows?
Gideon is Grievous, who wanted to be a Jedi in Legends but couldn't. Yeah, I can see that. So the similarities between there. While Gideon puts death chips in Mando's neck and makes them kill for him. Let's see. Mustaches make for the best villains. Sometimes. Gideon could be from Maul. I've heard a lot of people theorizing that he is a Mandalorian, who just completely sided with the Empire. I could see that being a cool reveal where he's like, I am a Mandalorian or whatever.
Ooh. That would be interesting. Do you feel like more
Or
people would know of him though? I mean, I guess it was a
maybe.
big civilization.
Or what would be sick? It would never happen. It'd probably be a little too much. But if Gideon was the Mandalorian or one of the Mandalorians who initially saved Din on that planet during the Clone Wars, that'd be pretty effing wild.
Whoa. Whoa. That could be an interesting tie-in / reveal if he brings Din to the debriefing room and he's like, remember me?
No, I'm your adoptive father. That's not true. That's impossible. Search your feelings, Din. You know it to be true.
Oh my god. We'll find out. God, I can't believe there's only one left. How is this happening? Ugh.
I know this season has flown by. You're at 100. You're so right. Did you notice during the Shadow Council they're using tactics and/or in the rebellion setup? Warlords working separately, independently, but it's a ruse as they are unified. Yeah, Sal, that's a great point. It definitely mirrors the rebels' tactics. I'm almost positive they learned that from them. Learn from your enemy.
True, that's a really good point.
He's Sasha Banks' dad. I don't think so, Nick.
That still would be interesting. We still don't know too much about the justification behind his motives. I mean, I guess not that he needs justification, but I mean, they definitely have bolstered a little bit more with even just his appearance in this episode. Like, he respects Mandalore, but he wants to drain them of their power. They're a threat to him. Like, what is his obsession? But he wants to annihilate them, but he really wants to be one. I think that's the biggest new chunk of character development we've gotten for him this whole show. Like, he is a Mando wannabe cosplayer, so
Mandalore will live on through me. I am your father's brother's nephew's cousin's former roommate. Then what does that make us? Absolutely nothing.
Yo, I want to go watch that
Loves
now.
Spaceballs. Man, we ain't found shit.
Pizza the Hut.
Your shorts is as big as mine.
Oh my god.
Gideon over here culture appropriating. Yeah, it'd be hilarious if the Mandalorians were just like, bro, that's pretty racist. Like
oh my god.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think. I knew that it was Skinny Pete, but I didn't even make the connection that they were both in Breaking Bad.
That's why he looked so familiar. I was like, why?
Skinny freaking Pete.
Good for you, Skinny Pete.
That's church, yo.
Oh my gosh. Dang, now I gotta go rewatch the episode knowing that.
Said this before, but what if Din puts Gideon inside a pit where he has to fight those commandos without his armor and Din gets the crap beat out of him? He would get the crap beat out of him. He relies heavily on his armor in combat, I've noticed. Like that one episode, I think it was the penultimate of season 2, where he's not in his armor and he's disguised as the shore trooper or something, or the tank trooper. And he has to fight. He gets beat up pretty badly because it shows that he's super reliant on his invincible armor. So I don't think he'd do too well without it.
And I think that's why, like, they make a point to show he always takes the charge and the lead when they're like storming the enemy, and he knows. I mean, he did it in season 2, episode 3, I guess that was, when he first meets Bo-Katan and her peeps, and he did it in this past episode. Like, he always goes out ahead of the group, probably because he knows, like, his armor can take a lot of hits. Like, his armor is very, 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 very bulletproof. So that's actually really good.
Gideon is Gus. I think Gus Fring is way smarter than Gideon, personally. I think Gideon is he's too much, if that makes sense. Like, he's too much of a mad dog. I think they called him a mad dog in season 1 or something. I think that's true. He's not as tactful as Gus, even though they have some similarities. So I think that's going to end up being his downfall.
And what I love about Gus is we've said this before, Zach. Like we at least know he has some humanity in him because we
Yeah.
know how he got to where he is. Right now, Gideon is just pure Empire evil. I just want to know a little bit more about what's his motive? Why Mandalore?
Where did he come from? Yeah, I agree. Gus versus Thrawn. That would be interesting. That would be interesting. An actual Gus versus Thrawn.
Oh.
Who's writing the Mythosaur next episode? It could be Bo.
Oh wait, frick! I forgot about that. Is that their game plan? Break out the Mythosaur and trample the.
Maybe, or maybe it'll just show up. It'll be like, ride, get on my back, like Falcor or something.
Falcor! Oh my god. Yo, that's right. We were debating, can the Mythosaur talk? Maybe it will.
What if it's just voiced by Morgan Freeman?
Of all people,
Hello,
I'd
Bo.
root for it.
Get on my back.
I'd root for it.
Where did he come from? Where did he go? Where did he come from? Cotton Eye Joe. Classic. But let's do the patented emoji rain, and let's get on out of here.
Yeah, we've been having too much fun tonight.
Yeah, we can't have
This was a good
too
one.
much fun.
This was a
Gotta
good
keep
one.
it reined in. Alex is missing out.
I know. Or are we? Because he's literally
He isn't-
traveling.
Yeah, that's
Where is he right now?
It's him that's missing out, Kat.
Because he posted a really appetizing looking picture of his food and everything that he's doing over there. So
he's in France,
I don't even.
I think.
Yes. And oh, here we go. Here we go.
All right. Let me know when you see him. Can you see the
Yes.
man? All right.
I'm far when ready.
All right, chat. Let's go. Even though you already started before Tarkin gave the okay, but that's okay.
Yo,
Penguins.
bumblebees, let's go. Let's go, team.
I love it. Ooh. Vibrant little gun. Are the penguins new? I don't think I've seen the penguins before.
It might be.
Devils, literally Satan.
Skull and crossbones in honor of whoever's getting the axe next week.
Den.
What was the final results of the poll, by the way?
Yeah. 40-60. 40 yes, 60 no.
That's pretty close.
Yeah.
That's pretty darn close. So, damn. We'll find out.
Whoa. Pandas.
Is that
foxes.
the Australian flag? Yes, it is. It's Alice.
Classic Alice.
Whoop, whoop.
They don't have the balls to kill Din. That's what I said, but I'd really like them to consider it.
Please just consider killing off the main character.
It's just a little thing. But folks, thank you for tuning in with us. We will be back next week for the finale of The Mandalorian Season 3. It really snuck up on us. But we will see you then. Have a good night, everybody.